This next part, we are going to learn how to distort images so that they line up with the perspective lines, and we will arrange them to make them look as realistic as possible given proportions. So first thing we're going to do is go into our folder where we have some images stocked. This might be where you look more into Google and start searching Google for materials. For me, like what I Googled for this image here was storefront. Storefront really, and you can get creative with it. Different kind of storefronts, like glass panel storefront, storefront for rendering. Just get creative, but keep in mind if you're looking for a more realistic kind of rendering, you should only use realistic, or if you're looking for only animated kind of rendering, you should look for only animated drawings. Keep it consistent. So I'm going to drop this image in here, and I'm lucky here because this is straight on, where it's not always straight on, but I definitely recommend like trying to get it as straight as possible for convenience. So because it's straight, we can use a couple different tools here. First, I'm going to resize this actually, maybe it doesn't need to be resized, about right there. I'm going to press enter to get out of that setting. And we could look at using the rectangular marquee tool, which we could crop around here like this, but you can see that the awning gets cut off a little bit, but I actually like that awning. So what I'm going to do instead is use the polygon lasso tool to just outline these glass panels and make sure to grab that awning here. Come back down to the ground. And I'm going to grab inside of here so that the flooring is consistent going up to the door. And you can use the whole type of siding and everything, but it'll be more difficult to cover the entire building with that siding than it would be to create your own kind of siding with that glass paneling. So now I'm just going to I'm on a Mac, and I'm going to press Command C and then Command V for paste, copy and paste. And actually it looks like it didn't do anything, but it really did. It just pasted it right inside of the place. So I'm going to delete that outside portion. Now this is where I'm going to go ahead and go up to distort it. So I'm going to edit, transform, distort. And if you've never seen this tool, it's actually pretty entertaining, and it'll be the heaviest tool that you use in Photoshop for rendering. At least it is for me. But keep in mind that this is actually only going to the bottom portion of the building because this is a 3-story building with apartments on top. Sorry, 4-story building with apartments on top. So I'm not going to want to fill up the entire building, and I will definitely be editing this more as we see what the appropriate proportions are from the door to the windows up top. So I'm going to line it up at the bottom there to cover up the building, and that should be able to help gauge the angle that I'm distorting it at. So for now, that looks about right. And you can see that this is actually popping out a little bit, the bottom of that building is popping out, but what we're going to do when we work more on the ground is fill that in with the brick that we will be using. So next up, I'm going to go into my Finder again, and what I did to Google this image was just a 3-story building apartment, and I was lucky enough to find that image. It is pretty small, but when I expand it, it doesn't pixelate that much. And sometimes it looks pixelated while it's still in that resize tool, but once you press enter, that should go away. Edit, transform, distort once again. And I'm going to go right up to the top of that building. Making sure that's lined up there. Right, and then I'm also making sure that this the distance here is pretty consistent with the edge of the image, because that tells me if it's crooked or not. So you can see here that actually my door is about the same size as my windows almost, which, you know, like that's not super realistic. So I'm going to keep that there, but actually go back and distort the mushroom storefront. And because the layer is underneath the apartments layer, I'm just going to drag it up enough so that that top glass panel isn't showing, because it's not super crucial that it is showing. Yeah. So that looks about right. Details can come in later too when you are just finishing up the end of the rendering. But for now, that looks okay. That looks okay to me. And something to keep in mind is that this window length is bigger than this window length because we are definitely standing closer to this part of it than we are that part of it. Okay, so that is how you do a storefront. I will go ahead and copy that over onto this one, and we will move into part 2 to look at the siding of a building.